All right. It
Great.
is 10:15, so we can get started here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Supervision of Peer Workforce Conference. I'm Kath, and I'm with Cher. This presentation is ensuring quality using customer evaluations and peer co-reflection supervision with Ann Kasper. Ann Kasper, MA CPSS, is a digital senior peer outreach specialist, mental health policy advocate, and preschool Japanese instructor. She provided peer support on a warm line and in residential and inpatient hospital settings. She is on the Global Mental Health Peer Network Executive Committee and a Wisecracker Peer Group co-founder. Welcome, Ann, and thank you all for coming. We are going to be doing some breakout rooms here, and I'll explain it all to you, but feel free to ask questions throughout. You can use the reactions tab in the bottom and just click raise hand. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. Yeah, this will be pretty interactive. So take it away, Ann.
Good morning. I'm going to start to share the screen now, and we'll get going here. Good morning, everybody. All right, and you're seeing my screen. All right, this looks good. So insurance quality, customer evaluations, and peer co-reflection supervision. And I am Ann Kasper, and I'm really happy to see all of you here. And you can find me at annempowermentroots.com, choiceheal.com, and kasperconnects.com. So please type in the chat. We'd like to make this as interactive as possible. Your name, your location. Do you identify as a supervisor, peer, or other? You can identify as you like. And do you identify as a cat person, a dog person, or a snake person today? So please put that in the chat as I'm doing my introductions. And that way we can get to know each other. It's such a pleasure that we get to do these workshops together all over the country. I'm coming in from Portland, Oregon today. And we're going to talk about the two main topics of co-reflection supervision, how that works, and peer customer evaluations. There's a great quote I really appreciate from Rumi, and I think it has a lot to do with peer support as well. Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And we as peer support specialists make that field, where nobody is right and nobody's wrong, and we're here to learn and grow together. So hi, I'm Ann Kasper. I'm here because I'm a team member building systems. I've helped build hospitals. I helped build the peer support specialist job in Oregon starting in 2004. I'm a peer support specialist myself and a service user, which they use in Britain to say that you use mental health services. I like to say I'm a person with lived experiences and loved experiences, because not all experiences are bad experiences. And I like to also think about the loved experiences in my life. And at the very bottom here, you can see a Vimeo. I do TV shows and local cable access here on mental health and other things. So I love traveling. Anybody else love traveling? And this is where I've been so far. I have more places to go to, and I'll be in California next week. So, and I'd like to say thank you to the Oregon Senior Peer Outreach Team and to our supervisors there, Lori Franke, Sharon Keene, Todd Troutner, and the non-peer who holds that position of executive director of the whole thing. And she's not a peer, but she allows us to do what we need to do as peers, Kimberly Lindsay. So in the chat today, along with your names and where you're from, how are you doing? Let's have A, B, C, D, or E. How are you doing today? And this is actually one of the clues about working with evaluation. Sometimes words aren't the best way to evaluation. Sometimes emojis or pictures are how to do this. So this is just a check-in. How are you doing? I'll wait for some answers to come in the chat. A, B, we got a lot of A's, okay. Some B's, good. And I'm not going to, oh, I just typed that, excuse me. Thank you, and some others too, great. I just happened to touch the screen by accident. But I like to say, Healing is an inside job. It means we do that healing, and peer support as peer support specialists, we make those platforms and environment where people can find the empowerment to help themselves heal. And we help them heal by being there. We are there to be there as they are healing. For this session, I'm going to ask you to take on some roles, to choose to talk in the small group breakout sessions. And I'd like someone to take notes or come back and talk about what happened there quickly. To participate in the chat, which you're doing very good. And thanks for getting the dog in the chat too. I just didn't have a dog emoji to put on the screen here. I'd like you to participate in group discussions as well in the large group. And please stay awake if you can. That is a joke. Okay. And again, as I said, co-reflection supervision and peer customer evaluations. So now, because part of doing good peer supervision and what we're going to learn later in today's session is about relationship first. It's really about the relationship. So for 3 minutes, we're going to break you into small groups. Please share your name, what you hope to gain from this session, why you're here, and your favorite dessert. So there, I believe Kath is doing the math, and we've got about 3 people in each session. Just for 3 minutes, we'll pop out and pop back in. And hope you have fun with each other.
So I'll do 8 rooms.
And Cece,
maybe
glad to
7.
see you have coffee to stay awake. All right. We'll see you in 3 minutes. Thank you. Welcome back. Everybody popping back. Great. Thank you. I hope you had a good time talking with each other, and nice that you can all meet each other. So can I just get a couple people to share what they heard, what they are hoping for from today, from this session? Just have like 2 or 3 people share. And we didn't keep track of the names of the group, so you're just going to have to I'll call in Trenda because she's there. Trenda, what did you learn in your group?
Well, that we didn't have enough time because we apparently were both good talkers. So, but mostly that there was just 2 of us in the group, and we both felt the same way, that we don't really know what we want to learn. We just want to learn, like we're hungry and we just want to get everything we can from this session and the whole day of conference.
Great. Alexander.
Hi. Yeah, like I said, the time was limited, but I think the 3 of us spoke really well after our introduction and our favorite dessert, which sounds delicious. We all agreed that, we just want to take from these sessions on how to better deal with those peers that we're working with, and how to deal with any kind of like trauma that might be or triggers that might come towards us or our staff that are dealing with one-on-one peer support or crisis situations that they might be triggered, and just making sure we check in with them and really give them a good working environment.
Great, thank you. Well, let's go on the journey then of this session. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again, and we'll get back into the PowerPoint. Okay, and is it up? Good. Okay, so thank you for doing some of your jobs. All righty. Next, so the co-reflection. What is co-reflection supervision? It's coming from intentional peer support. That's Sherry Mead and Chris Hansen. And the people I mentioned saying thank you to at first, they are the ones who created what's called the Oregon Senior Peer Outreach program. And they actually train people in intentional peer support, and we do supervision from intentional peer support. And if you can raise your hand somehow, who's been trained in intentional peer support already? Anybody here in this group? Oh, good. This will be an introduction. I got one. Oh, Joan Keenan. Hey, Diane Lane. And Joan and Diane, as I'm talking, feel free to come in and add comments as well. Okay. So intentional peer support was started by Sherry Mead and Chris Hansen, and you can see the website intentionalpeersupport.org. They also have a YouTube channel with some really good videos on it. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about the system that they created. And it was out of hospital experiences and other experiences. And Diane, did you have something to say quickly, or okay, or are you just saying you've taken IPS? Great. So what is intentional peer support? They are talking about from helping, looking at helping to learning together, from being the individual to relationship, from fear and hope, which is sometimes those crisis situations, and going into possibility. This is just a really quick overview. I encourage you to take the trainings. They're online now, and you can take them all over the United States, and actually not from other countries too. And so there's 3 principles and 4 tasks. Those are the 3 principles, and the 4 tasks are making connection, worldview, mutuality, and moving towards. So relationship first. The relationship is the most important thing. So we, as the quote said, there is a field beyond right doing and wrongdoing. It's making that, building the relationship. It's building the connection. It's looking at somebody else's worldview. Can I see the world through different lenses? We all have our own different lenses. I happen to have on glasses today. So when I put on my glasses, I see a different way than you see, because we all wear different glasses as a different way. Mutuality, peer support, intentional peer support means that people are equal. It's mutual. We learn both ways. And that's what I really appreciate about intentional peer support or co-reflection supervision, is that it's co-learning. It's no one's higher than the other. We're learning together. And the next task is moving towards. Instead of looking at something from the past, something hard, let's look at moving towards. What are we moving towards together? And you mentioned crisis. What are we moving towards the next step? Intentional peer support is about being curious and asking open-ended questions, trying to put judgment aside, which judgment is always there. We're humans, but trying to put judgment aside. So I'm going to show you some open-ended questions, but it's coming from that base of curiosity. Wow, I wonder what that person is coming from, what they're thinking. So instead of having prejudged thinking about it, coming from that wonder. So here are some ways to start conversations like that. I wonder what you're thinking. Help me understand what you're saying. What makes that so? And use the words that they have given you. If you could have what you want, what would that be? And what can we do to get there? And if you notice, it says we, right? It's together, it's mutual. What can we do to get there? So what is co-reflection peer support style supervision? It's co-creating, and it's being mutual. The managers are mutual, but having those boundaries as well, because we are working for somebody. You have expectations. As Lene said in the last group, it's important to know your job and do your job and have those boundaries, and also have the boundaries with the peers who are working for you, and yet be mutual, not to be judgmental, and finding and meeting solutions together. If we have a problem, how can we find this together? And those people who took intentional peer support, do you have anything else to add to this, to these tasks and supervision information?
It looks like Anne has her hand up. I'm not sure if that's I'm sorry, Diane. I'm not sure if that was a question.
Yeah, Diane?
No, I'm sorry. I guess I just didn't take my hand down.
It's okay. Does anybody else have, Lauren, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, as a person, so I'm trained in IPS, and as a person who participates in co-reflection, I just really appreciate that, just that feeling of mutual respect and problem solving together, instead of a supervisor overseeing me and like kind of steering me in the way that they want to steer me, right? It's a different feel. We even have co-reflection groups where we support each other as peers, which also really helps. I've been in, not in IPS, but I've also been in
IPS meaning intentional peer support. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Anne. I've also been in non-IPS peer group supervision, which also works really well. And it's the same kind of mutuality that it just feels really good, feels right.
Thank you. And I want to mention something that Lauren mentioned is that our managers, and Lauren happens to work in the same department as I do with the seniors, is that our manager made a co-reflection time once a month when we as peer support specialists only meet. The managers don't come. They're actually really kind of not allowed to come. And what happens during that hour and a half is that we co-reflect with each other. And it feels really comfortable because we can be open, completely open what's going on. We also have a half hour of teaching, a co-learning to each other. So for example, somebody taught a half hour of Brene Brown, how to work with shame. Somebody else taught us about 98 system, how that's going to happen, things like that. So even as peers, we can co-reflect, and it's even feels a little bit safer because we can say and do anything, and we do. We really support and learn from each other and help each other come to better work situation. Does anybody else have that in the workplace where the peers only meet and co-reflect? Any raise hands or put it in the chat? Well, I don't see any comments, so I guess this is unique for now, but we suggest it, and we don't waste time. We actually really do serious work. We do really work and help each other and help each other be better peers altogether. So questions for you all. What do your supervisors do if there's a problem with the peer service? For example, you get complaints about your peers, and how do you handle customer complaints with your peer supporters? I'm using that for peer support specialists. So those questions, can anybody answer that? What do your supervisors do, or what do your supervisors do when you get complaints? And if no one answers, it's okay, because I can talk. Trenda, go ahead. Thanks.
Sure. So when we get complaints on the Illinois warm line, we do a process of where the person themselves takes a look at the call, or listens to the call, or reflects back on the call, and they decide what they did well, what they would improve, and any resources or training that they might have. And then we talk about it together and sort of co-reflect. Even though I'm not trained in IPS, we still co-reflect. And then we come up with an action plan together. Then we talk to the caller about that and ask the caller if that, is that helps resolve their complaint, or if there's anything else that the caller feels like we should do differently to improve what we do here. So it's a collaborative process.
Sounds great. Sounds very co-reflective on all parts. Lauren, and then we had another hand up too. I saw it just went down, but Lauren.
Oh, all those things are most of what I was going to share as well. I did not have a complaint in the one line, but I had an issue with another peer that I talked with in another program who had a complaint. And one thing I want to say about co-reflection is that and peers as supervisors is I feel really safe with my peer supervisors, because I know that not only do they supervise, but they are also peers. And so they have my similar viewpoint. And so it was a very similar process. We talked over the situation and the points of view and talked about the things that the same process. And I just really appreciate that about having a peer as a supervisor.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. Great. And Kath, did you see somebody else's hand up? And I just missed that. So,
I actually did not see anybody else's hand up.
okay, I had, great. So thank you for those answers. And I like to look at it too, from not just a trauma-informed approach, but also a healing-informed approach. So how do we all heal together? And thinking about that when there are problems, what are the points of healing as Trenda and Lauren talked about? How do we actually come to those things mutually together if we have problems? And I want to hear from the peers. Have you ever received what you would quote call bad peer supervisors, and what happened, and services, excuse me, what happened, and did you have a way to give feedback about that? And I'll tell you, I actually helped build a hospital here in Portland, and I ended up staying there. And I received peer services that were actually traumatizing me, and I had to ask the person to leave. And because I was in a hospice situation, I decided it wasn't safe to give feedback about that. But that's just my experience. Has anybody else had experiences that they didn't feel were comfortable as peers? Well, this is good to hear. Nobody else has. Sometimes it doesn't match. And the point here, I think it's really important to have a system to be able to give feedback about peer support and give it back safely. And it sounds like Trenda's system and Lauren's system have ways to get back feedback. So think about that. If you have a program, how can the people getting the services give feedback on the peer support? How can they do it? Do you have that set up? Do you have it set up in a safe way? And here's a question for you too. And how do you currently get information on the quality of the peer support your program offers? Do you have these systems set up? Carrie.
I feel like for a small county, yeah, we do. We have like a daily check-in worksheet for clients that has all the services that we provide, and like if we do referrals out. And then we also have a daily exit form that asks if they got those services met, how they felt, were staff respectful, just to get that daily feedback. And then once a year, we participate in the consumer perception survey. We also have like an annual client survey that we send out. So we really try to get that feedback from our consumers, from our peers, especially. And then, the centers meet with the peers on a regular basis as well to make sure that we're giving them what they want. So, or what they need.
Sounds fantastic. Where are you located? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Carrie Manning, and I am in Lake County, California.
Okay.
Northern California, very small rural community with a lake in the middle of it. So.
No, that's wonderful. And so people really do turn in their sheets every day.
Well, not all people, but we do get probably 60 to 80% of them back.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting sometimes what people write on there, but it's really good input. And I just like going to the surveys and talking to our peers, and people that are using the centers. And sorry, I was reading the chat.
I just stopped reading chat. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, no, I like going out and having conversations with the people that utilize our centers and people out in the parks and the streets, and getting their feedback on what our community needs. So
that's fantastic. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, the question's not there, but have you changed things because of certain kinds of feedback?
We have actually. We have our Circle of Native Minds, which our focus is, the unserved Native American population. And we did kind of a survey with one of our elders groups, and they wanted the center moved because it was kind of in an off the beaten track kind of location. It was hard to get to, the bus didn't go there. And so we moved. And we moved to a location where the bus stops right there. And, so hopefully, the community is happier with where we are.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. Okay.
Yeah, and we've also added services, taken services away. So yes, we do.
Thank you. Kath, can you start reading the chat out loud, because it's we have a lot of chat going on. If you could read some.
Sure. Yeah, they're mostly just comments.
Carrie,
Let's see. We do. Yes, we do. Our team meets without supervisors. We have peer reflections at IRC. I have a weekly meeting with the peers. We only have peer staff. As a peer supervisor, management brings a complaint to me. Then I will meet in person with the staff and ask what happened. We then talk about how that situation could have been different, reflect, and if needed, we develop an action plan. Then the next one, yes, we do. We do anonymous surveys quarterly, but I like the idea of Carrie's daily check-in. And then, would anyone be willing to share their survey questions with me? I would really like to implement this in our drop-in center. I appreciate all of your expertise.
Rachel, go ahead and put, if it's okay, to put your email in the chat, or you can also send it to me and I'll be happy to send it out to people as well. Great, thank you. Anybody else have any other comments on this question? Excellent. So for the Oregon Senior Peer Outreach, the program was set up to look at life satisfaction, to look at levels of loneliness, and to look at program entry and exit. They're looking for, are there any changes in loneliness? Because our proposal was that if seniors got calls, so the program is seniors get 30-minute calls from a peer support person each week. Are there changes in loneliness? Do they have less loneliness? Are there reductions in emergency services usage? And so this also helped us get funding for the programs, for this program. And it just is a really fantastic program to work on. I enjoy it. And I see the differences in the seniors that I've been speaking to, even for short times and even for a year. I've been with some of them through their manic phases and their depressive phases. And if you want to go extreme state phases, I've been through some really hard times. There's some seniors out in very rural areas of Oregon that have no other contact with anybody else. And this is a very important program for them. And they do indicate that they've had changes in loneliness. So how do we look for these factors? Our program managers decided to use the Health and Retirement Study, HRS, for the loneliness measures. And the link is here in the slide, and you'll be able to get the slides later on. So we actually used outside measures to make the measurements for our program. And we also have surveys, quarterly surveys. And we have an outside person who's not a peer and who's not a manager call the seniors and ask them to give these statements. There's 10 statements. I'm not going to read them all, but using the intentional peer support competency scale, asking about how the peer support specialists are doing with them in their own experiences. So they ask if they disagree, neither agree or disagree, agree or strongly agree. And so the seniors hear some of these statements. For example, I feel like the peer support specialist and I are building a real connection. And they ask the senior, do you disagree, neither agree, agree, or strongly agree? Another statement that is asked or heard, conversations with the peer support specialist leave me hopeful. Some other things are the peer support specialist encourages me to try new things. And the peer support specialist wants to learn from me. There's 10 factors that we look at. So how to create and conduct a customer evaluation survey for peers? And it sounds like there's some out there. Thinking about what are the values and programs goals? What are the goals and values of the peers? And what are the goals and values of the funders and future funders? So as you're collecting this information, it's really important to keep it because it will help you get future funding as well. Have an independent surveyor possible, and think about the most comfortable methods to collect information. So for some people, it may be an app, it may be tuning in, and it sounds like in Carrie's case, it's writing out those evaluations every day. Think about also using pictures, using those emojis if people don't want to give words exactly, or if you want them to give words, give a list of words they can choose from. Measure and compare results over the time and keep that data because it does get helpful. Time in surveys. Too much is not a good thing in this case. I think too often, if you're asking, but it sounds like in Carrie's case, it works really well because it's part of the routine. But think about your customers, your people, and how often is it too often? Are you going to bother them if you're asking them too often? In our case, our seniors are asked quarterly, and for some of the seniors, that is too often. And Kath, can we go to the chat? Because I see some chat questions popping up.
Yep, we left off at Erica. Where do you get, oh, let's see, let me just go up a little bit, I think. Yeah, would anyone be willing to share their survey questions with me? Yep, I think that was covered. And then where do you get the data from? Is it self-report or provided by county?
So the data is actually surveys asked of the seniors themselves. As part of our program, the way it's set up, we have a position there that's an independent evaluator. And we have these questions we ask of the seniors. And so it's direct data from the seniors themselves. And it's provided by the seniors and then given to the counties, actually, the other way around. And I'll just read, Carrie says, we share those survey results during our annual stakeholder meetings. We also survey the people that attend these meetings. Great. And I think we've talked about this. It's okay. Well, actually part of this, how do you share this information and bring it back to your peer support specialists? So Trenda, I know you talked about, you got some information and you co-reflect with them. And how do we do this in a safe space is the question. If we use mutuality, then it is a safe space. Lauren, like to talk?
Yeah, you were about to talk what I was.
It's all good. You go ahead. I was going to talk
about. Yeah. So one of the things that I love about intentional peer support, and so I've been a peer support specialist for about going on 8 years. And when I came to this organization, which has been about 2 years ago, even though I was certified and had been trained, they require that you're trained in intentional peer support. And the thing that I love about intentional peer support, or about an organization that requires that, is that we have that as a base, and we're able to kind of, if you will, like, speak the same language, right? So the reason that I think our co-reflection, or when our supervisors talk with us, or when we support each other, or whatever, even when we support our peers, and we have several different programs. So we've got the Warm Line, and we've got the Oregon Senior Connect. We're all on the same page of intentional peer support, and we use those. You saw in the beginning of Anne's slides that Anne, help me.
You're going at, sorry.
The 7 different kind of like pillars.
And yes.
Yeah. And we always are referring back to that. And that goes for people who have been using intentional peer support for years, and those who have just recently learned it. And because we have it as a sort of a base, we all kind of connect in that way and communicate in that way, and it just makes it really work. So
thank you, Lauren. That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
and
I didn't exactly answer the question, but I think it's a really good point.
It's all good. It's all good. No, it's about making that space. Sarah from Peers. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for the great presentation and discussion first. I wanted to just, one of my roles at Peers is evaluation. I just wanted to share something that I've learned that seems to make a difference to our staff, all of whom are peers, is that in evaluation, you want to think about measuring a couple different kinds of things, like how much are we doing, how well are we doing it, and then what kind of difference is it making. And I have found that I think for all of us, it's hard to remember when we're kind of in the daily grind, like why we're doing it in the big picture. So so when I share like sort of what we're learning from the data that we collect, I always put it in the context of our logic model, which is how we connect what we do every day to the big vision that we have about changing the world, right? I always remind people like, well, we ask this question about hope because it can, because helping people feel a greater sense of hope connects to our big vision about changing the world in this way. And I have found that it actually like puts wind in people's sails a lot, because day to day the work is hard, and it helps to be reminded that showing up, greeting people with warmth, etc. Like all the basic practices that people do every day really matter in terms of the big vision of where we're trying to go. So thanks for this discussion.
That's fantastic, Sarah. That really helps, yes, to bring it from the macro to the macro. What we're really doing is changing the world, right? And you're right, we are in different ways. So Kath, we're going to have small groups now, and we'll give people 12 minutes. I hope that's enough. Can you do groups of 3, Kath, 3 people? Let's do, we can do 15 minutes. We'll do 15 minutes each. And the questions are going to be, because you get to know more people. This is the breakout sessions. So here's the goals, to get to know other participants around the country and their favorite desserts. So we get new desserts, new people, to come up with some evaluation questions or points of customer review for your program and share them with your small group. And bring some of those suggestions back to the large group if you can. So I'm going to have you go into these small groups. Again, you get to know other people, new people, right? Kath, we're okay to mix people up. And go ahead and give your name and your favorite dessert. And please discuss some of the questions that you use for your evaluations. And hopefully this will help some other people in the group learn what you're doing. So we're going to go into small groups. Apparently I'm bumped in the small groups too. So I'll see some of you in one small group. And we'll see you in 15 minutes. That'll leave us a couple minutes for questions when we come back, and that'll be great. Thank you. See you on the other side. Great. We're coming back to the rooms. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I hope it was good for you. Joan Keenan, good to see you. It's been a long time. All right. I think we're waiting for people just to pop back in. We've got, looks like one more group to come back in. Excellent. Kath, do we have everybody back in the room now?
3 seconds. 1 second. There we go.
Okay. I don't know. Welcome back in, everybody. Welcome back. I hope that was fruitful and good for you all. I have learned so much today from everybody. I'd like to thank you. I've just got 2 more slides, and if you have any questions, we have 4 minutes left. So you're welcome to ask questions. Let me get the slides up. Excuse me, let's see, present. Whoa, we lost the, all right. Current slide. I apologize. So I was down here. There we go. So one thing that I do is work with a lot of refugees. And I want to remind you, as we get more refugees in, we're going to have more peer support refugees using different kinds of ways of thinking in evaluations. Some people were not allowed to say anything in their home countries. So how do you make it as comfortable as possible? Using, again, pictures and things to get information out, and we can support them. And I'd love to actually give a presentation about how to work with refugees sometime. And hopefully, we don't have much time to talk, but hopefully you're taking some things away today in co-reflection and peer customer evaluations. And I would like to also offer this song, and I think it really helps with the peer support, how we do this. It's How Could Anyone? It's on YouTube as well. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone ever fail to notice your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. And you can go ahead and put evaluations in if you like. Kath also has real evaluations for share. And thank you. And this is a way to reach me. We'd love to connect with you all. And thank you very much for showing up today. Any questions? Wow, no questions. Boy, this is easy then. Any comments about your session today? Anything you learned new from somebody else? And I'm going to be down in Oakland next week, the 5th for 10 days. And so, Sarah, I'm hoping I can come visit you people. And so it looks like fun. If there are no questions.
Looks like we have one from Cece.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you so much. It was really informative, and there was a couple things that kind of came up that I didn't really think about. And I've been in this peer support world since I was 18, and I'm going to throw my age out there. I'm currently 34, so it's been a cool minute that I've been here. So it was really wonderful to hear like the perspective of other people and see how they're approaching the supervision with peers and being able to get that feedback and stuff. And I think one of the things that I kind of is a takeaway for me that I'm going to try to implement a little bit more is trying to get a little more feedback from the peers that I work with on how they feel about the process, because we do have like a process that we follow, but I think more in-depth questions would be beneficial. So yeah, and I really want to look into this the what's it called, the IPS,
no peer support.
yeah, I haven't heard about it, and I've been doing this for quite a minute. Or maybe I heard about it and I just forgot about it. I'm not sure. It's been so long.
Well, good. So it's great. I'm so glad to hear about Joan. Cece, is that and also
awesome.
Feel free to contact me anytime. I actually run a group on Mondays now called the Wisecrackers. And this is for people over 50. And we have people actually from Zimbabwe and other countries showing up, as well as New York. I'm running it with a New York peer, an older gentleman who's completely opposite than I am. So it's really fun. But we're at 4 o'clock to 5:30 Pacific time. You can find the link on choiceheals.com, or you can always contact me. I'll send you the link, but it's an open group and we're having a great time as us older people talking. Joan, what's up?
I guess I was curious about how people are facilitating these questionnaires or surveys. Is it electronic? Do they have is there an app, or is there, do they get it in their box, or is it all paper?
It's a good question. So for us, we have an evaluator that we hire, and he, at this time it's a he, calls the seniors. So some of the seniors don't even have internet in rural Oregon. So our evaluations are done all by phone. And it usually takes about 15 minutes. So it's a good question. That's just because of our customer base. That's who they are. They would probably most likely not go on an app. Most the ones that I work with don't know what apps are. So it's a good question. Carrie.
Yeah, we use paper surveys for the most part, especially at our peer support centers. And then we enter that into like SurveyMonkey. We're still trying to figure out the whole database, and we need a new database. But yeah, that's how we usually do it. Is paper for our stakeholder meetings. We have paper as well as links to online surveys. And one thing that I came up for me during our small session was, we need to make sure that it's in a language that the person will understand, written by someone that speaks that language. And
Google
Jennifer,
Translate doesn't do it justice.
no, it does not, you know, so I encourage, you know, we have a consulting agency, and for whatever reason, this is the first year that they have translated anything into Spanish. And I ran it by our couple of Spanish speakers, and they were like, no. So they fixed it, you know. Also Jennifer brought up a really good point. You know, some people, especially if, you know, they can't read or they don't read really well, using images of, you know, like faces, you know, like, I don't like it, or, you know, because like she said, we all connect through images, and that's just a universal language. And I love that idea.
All right, great. So thank you all. And this is the end of our session. So feel free to contact me in time.
Thank
See
you.
in the next universe. Zoom
Thank you
universe.
so much. Thank you, Anne. That was great. I'm going to drop this evaluation one more time. This is the share evaluation, if you wouldn't mind filling that out. And the next session is Orientation to RAP as an evidence-based peer practice, and that's going to be at 1:30. So we have a little bit of a break here. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kath, so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.